video, I'm going to be showing you guys the best settings that I use to get the most cinematic shots when it comes to shooting weddings. So if you want to be able to shoot weddings like a pro like me, these are the settings that I use. So in front of me I have the Sony FX3. So if you do have a similar camera, you could follow along and I'll be able to go through the settings step by step for you. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing you want to do when it comes to these cameras is set it in manual first. You want to make sure it's in manual so you can adjust settings. And for this FX3, you want to go to the video mode. First, we want to do the codec. Codec is basically the quality that we want to get out of the camera. Of course, we want the best, which is 4K. As you can see, the different 4K options. I'm not going to go into each one, what they all are, but I'm just going to go into the main ones that I use. So this is the first one I use, which is XAVC S4K. So for this file format specifically, I shoot this in 4K 25, and I'm going to explain why only this one. Next, we want to do the bit rate with the best quality we want from this camera, which is obviously 10-bit at 140M. One thing I forgot to mention is that shooting in these file formats do require for you to have specific SD cards for it. So in front of me, I have some SD cards that I'm going to show you. Firstly, this 128 SD card, even though it's 128 gigabytes, and that's a lot of storage for filming, it won't be compatible to shoot 4K 50 or 4K 100 on this specific Sony camera. When it comes to these specific cameras, they need at least a minimum V60 card to be able to shoot on. So regardless of this number here, it's more so about that tiny number there that says V. The V, whatever comes after that, has to be at least 60. So let's put that to the side. So over here we have the 256, which is like more of a budget friendly SD card. So something like this is £50 and something like this was £250. Even though it's the same memory, this being 256 and this being 256, but this being £50 and this being £250, I'm gonna explain why. If we look at the actual numbers inside, you'll see that firstly, the megabits per second and the read and write speed, if we compared it to this one, we'll see this one is 300 with the read speed. If we look at this is a V60 card. If we look at this one is a V90 card. And then overall, this brand is Kingston and this brand is Pro Grade. But the point is, with SD cards like this, you're able to shoot on frame rates like 4K 50, 4K 100 without any problems. Next, obviously, as I mentioned, we want to do 25 frames. We want to click that to 25 frames, it's already there. And then next, you want to oversee 1/50. Next, I personally like to leave my aperture on the lowest, so my camera's ready whether I'm in a bright or dark situation, and I'll show you how I adjust that basically, because sometimes I use ND filters, but I can just bump up the aperture based on the settings, like the dial on the camera here. It basically helps to like change the settings. Cool. So next we have ISO. So for this camera, it has native dual ISO, which basically means there's two numbers on this camera that shoots the cleanest with minimal noise. So for this camera, at the lower end, it's 800 ISO, and then at the high end, it's 12,800. I personally only use the two numbers. So 800 ISO if I'm shooting during the day, and 12,800 if I'm shooting in the night. Next is white balance. I personally leave mine on auto. That's just my preference. Some people choose to change it throughout the day and carry gray cards. I personally just like it on auto. It's easy for me. I never had problems with it, and yeah. Now, when it comes to picture profile, this is where you want to set your camera to S-Log. The most easy explanation for log footage is like a coloring book. When you film, it basically looks gray, but when you put it in your editing software, you can enhance colors and can basically save certain parts of the footage you can't get if you're filming in color. So that's why I personally film in log. Some cameras on picture profiles on like PP6 or 7, it should have S-Log 3. In case it doesn't, you can just set it yourself. So I just do it on PP1. So over here, you'll go into gamma, which is obviously where you want to change it into S-Log 3. So right now I've put in S-Log 3. Then obviously the color mode, you want to change it into S-Gamut3.cine. That's it for picture profile. Next, obviously, we have gamut assist. So obviously this is off. It just basically makes the footage look gray. The reason why I turn this on is so you can basically see what it will look like. So I leave this on. So it's like how you're looking at me now. This is currently filming in log, but I've added my color grade to it. And that's why you can basically see me with all of these colors. So the same with this camera. When I'm filming on the camera, it shows the conversion, but when I put it in the computer, it's in log. But I do that so I can basically make sure I'm exposing correctly and everything looks good in terms of the colors and stuff. I don't make proxies through camera. I make them directly in DaVinci. When it comes to audio, I always use external audio, so like DJI mics. So I personally set this lower so it balances it out and I can mainly change the settings on the external recorders that I use. So log shooting, I put this on flexible ISO. And now we're going to get into the first part, which is all to do with shooting. So image quality is the same thing as we did earlier, but I'm going to skim through some of it. So we've already done this where we set 4K 25 with the format. The movie setting, we've already done it at 25 frames, as you can see. S&Q, I don't use this. Log shooting, that's what we have now in Flexi. We don't want proxies. This is to format your SD card if you need to format it. Obviously, we're not formatting now. Recording settings, this is very important too. So for cameras like the FX3 have dual SD card slots. So what I personally do is that I make sure that it's simultaneously recording. I might have said that word wrong, but it's simultaneously recording. So that way it records onto both the SD cards at the same time. Yeah, next. So we're gonna go next now. Okay, so in terms of file writing, this is basically how you want your SD card to look like once you put it onto the computer. So mine, I just changed mine to FX3 because I use multiple cameras. I named each camera so I don't get confused in terms of what camera is what. So you could change yours to your name, A cam, B cam, just depends on what your preferences. I'm gonna skip this, and then we're gonna get back to this. So this is obviously where we're gonna save these settings so you can have shortcuts to them. So I've already set mine as 4K 25, 4K 50, and 4K 100. I'm gonna show you how to do this in a minute. The silent mode, I leave this off. I personally want to hear my camera when it records and when it doesn't. I turn this off sometimes depending if I'm in a very quiet place like a Catholic church and they don't really like noise or flashlights. So I'll turn that off if I'm in a very basically intimate place where it's like very quiet and I don't want to distract people. So going back now, I leave this enabled. Audio recording, obviously we want it on. I already set how loud we want it. Audio out timing live. When noise off, I leave it off because I don't want the camera to use any settings to change my audio. I'll just do it in post. I don't use time code. I don't use this, so we go next. Steady shot, I leave it on standard. Some people choose to put it on active. I leave it on standard. Steady shot adjust, leave it on auto. Now, when it comes to zoom range, I change it to clear zoom, image zoom. So that way I can basically toggle the top part of the button and it can basically zoom in for me with a clean zoom, so it doesn't actually ruin any of the quality. Zoom level speed, you could set it to how you want it. These are my specific settings. If you want to pause it, you can set these settings specifically. These are the custom keys I have set. Next, grids I leave off. Emphasis on recording I leave on, so that basically means when I press record on the camera, it shows it with that red line. And you probably would hear the noise too, so it does that as well. Yeah, next, all of this I leave off. Shutter speed, obviously I want a speed. People change to angle, which is the 180 rule. I just leave it on speed. Auto slow shutter, I leave it on. Now ISO, so as I mentioned, ISO is already on 800, but what I do is I add the limiter so I don't mistakenly go below the native ISO and above the native ISO. So I put it firstly on 800 minimum, and then for maximum, I put it on 12,800. So that way I don't go below the native ISO or above it. Auto manual set, I leave this all manual. I leave these settings as this. All of this I don't touch this. Auto white balance, you already know that. Priority set, standard. Shockless, white balance, left it on 1. Select lot on Rec 7 and 9. Zebras, we turn these on. And 70 is decent. Obviously focus, we want it continuous always focus. You wouldn't want to shoot on manual. On a wedding day, you want to be able to capture the shots quick, so you want to leave it on continuous autofocus. I leave my speed at 5, the response at 5. Autofocus assist, I turn on. Focus area, we leave wide. We don't touch that. We leave that, and those are the settings. On, human, auto, yep. I leave this as that, and that's where it is. I don't change this, I leave it as where it is. Yep, so with peaking, I like to change it to red just so I can basically see the difference when it is peaking, because with zebras they're white, and if peaking is white then it's hard to see between the two sometimes. So I leave peaking in red so I can see the difference basically. And yeah, you want to obviously turn that on. Next we have playback. I don't touch this, I don't touch any of this, none of this is touched. This is just playback. None of this, I don't touch this, I don't touch any of this. Bluetooth, you want to pair your Bluetooth to your gimbal, which I can talk about in another video in terms of how to set up your gimbal and get the best settings for your camera and gimbal together. I've actually set up my Bluetooth and Wi-Fi to my iPad, so that way when I'm recording, I don't know if you can see here, I can see basically everything I'm doing on like my tablet compared to yeah, not being able to see what's going on. This actually helps when I'm recording because sometimes I can lose track of what I'm doing. So yeah, that's why I have that. All of this, airplane off. I don't change any of this. I don't change any of that. Custom keys. So it's like here too. This is where you can change the FN button will be in this slot here. I like the settings I have, so I'm not trying to change anything. Nothing here, change anything here. These are my settings here. Now, monitor brightness, you want to make sure this is sunny weather because I know some people like to leave it lower so they can save battery. Just buy more batteries. It's better you can actually see what you're doing and how bright and exposure footage is. Otherwise, you're going to end up like bumping up your ISO or aperture when you don't need to. So I'd say leave this on sunny weather. Display quality high. This just flips when you're basically filming in different directions. Now over here, we got gamma assist already on with the Rec 79 conversion. I got a display lap from the camera already included. That's pretty much it, I think. And power, save time off. Next, volume, don't need to worry about that, leave it as that. Leave this all the same. HDMI, if you're using a monitor, you can use these settings. I don't really touch this. Fan as well, I leave it on auto. And then yeah, pretty much that. I don't change anything else. Yeah, that's really it. So once these settings are set, like I mentioned, you want to go back to this part here, into here, go to number 4, shooting mode, then go into camera set memory, and then you just want to click OK. I've already set mine, so I don't want to change it again. Once they're done, for example, I'll go to mine again, MR1. So you see, if I go back to menu, these are my settings for this mode. But if I go into MR2 and go to menu again, those are settings for that. And if I go to mode, menu 3, those are settings for that. So the only thing that's different about them is with MR2 and MR3 is different to MR1. And I'll explain that in a minute. The file format, because basically with this camera, I like to shoot on H.265. You can only do that at 50 frames and 100 frames. So that's why I've set this as XAVC-HS 4K, and then 4K25 is set at XAVCS 4K. But if you don't want to get confused, just set all of them as the second one, which is the XAVCS 4K, and you wouldn't have to worry about H.264 and H.265. Basically, H.264 is more standard, most people use it. H.265 is more a compressed version for your camera, which benefits you in terms of space. However, if you don't have a powerful editing computer or laptop, you're going to struggle to edit it. You need like a decent base that has a good amount of RAM and powerful enough to take the codec settings of H.265. But yeah, once it's set, obviously you would have your mode 1, mode 2, and mode 3. And yeah, those are the best settings I personally use to get the most cinematic wedding shots. And when it comes to weddings, so talking head shots will be used if I'm shooting certain parts of the ceremony and there's a lot of basically talking going on. I also use 4K25 for moments like the speeches. Also, I use 4K25 for moments of dancing because obviously the higher the frame rate, the brighter it is, but it just depends on how it looks in terms of the colors and how bright it is in the room. I do use lighting, so it helps me. So sometimes I can just shoot on 4K50 and it'll be fine. In the event that I use 4K50, that's basically anything that I basically want to slow down. If I want to super slow it down, 4K 100, and that would be used in moments like the confetti shot when couples are coming out, or specific moments where I just want to capture a lot of like super slow-mo footage that just looks good. But yeah, those are my cinematic camera settings to shoot wedding like a pro. I hope you like this video. If you want to see a video on how I actually shot a cinematic wedding, you'll have access to it over here or here. And yeah, if you like this video, please like it, comment and subscribe. And till next time, peace.